This is a message for all the iPad mini users out there. Tell me why it's good. Oh, you're out of time. Bye-bye, iPad mini. So what are you waiting for? If you're excited for today's video, drop a like down below. It seriously helps me and the channel out. And click that subscribe button and turn on the bell for notifications so that you never miss a beat. Okay, so apparently the iPhone 14, the new design's only coming to some stuff. And then there's been some M2 MacBook Air. Just some developments there as well. I guess let's just start with a quick roundup of all of the new products, because I've had some time to use all of them and I've had some time to spend with all of the new products, and I wanted to share my brief thoughts after they've dropped on Friday. The green iPhone 13 Pro is nice. The iPad Air feels pretty much the same to me as last generation, and the new iPhone SE has 5G. I'll be honest, this set of products just wasn't as impactful as I thought they would be. I mean, they're good, right? They're fine, but they're all minor upgrades from the last generation. The two products that are big are one, the Studio Display, which is actually not here. I already switched back to the Pro Display. I just got so used to the 32-inch size that I couldn't go back. And I know that that's like, oh, you're so spoiled. I know, all right? I know I'm spoiled, all right? But I like the 32-inch size. And listen, the Pro Display's speakers and the actual display panel are really good, and it's a product I absolutely recommend. I mean, I already had a Pro Display, and it is functionally better visually. Oh, and then the Mac Studio is just out of this world cool, super fast, super snappy. Been loving my time with that. Okay, let's actually jump into the news. All right, let's get away from the old products. Let's what I say, out with the old, in with the new. Time to do some spring cleaning. First up, the M2 MacBook Air. I feel like we have been hearing about this longer than I have been aging, which has been about 24 years now. The thing is, I think it's worth waiting for because it is going to be the biggest upgrade to the MacBook Air in the product line's history. Like, this is not going to be a small spec bump. This is a complete redesign, a completely new version of the M1 chip. It's going to be the M2. It's going to have MagSafe on there. I think the crazy part is that we know what it's going to look like. We know about the glorious white bezels, and yes, I will still stand the white bezels. I think the white looks fine. Oh, there's a notch on here too. I think the notch looks great on here. I know you guys think I'm an absolute psycho for liking the notch, but I genuinely like it on the MacBook Pro. That is so much better than the thicker top and bottom bezels. It is the right choice. I stand the notch. It's the right interim before we get to no notch at all, which will be a couple years. So that's the MacBook Air. I mean, huge upgrades across the board, but it's not coming for a minute. In fact, Mark Gurman said it was initially supposed to come out in the fall. Then he was like, oh, well, Apple got a little confused, and then they moved it to the spring. And based on that, that's today. The day is spring. But then apparently Apple just changed their mind and was like, oh, actually second half of the year. Because remember, this is the year that Mark Gurman, the best Apple source in the game, has said will be the most Apple products I think we have ever seen in history. It also sounds like Apple's gonna push mostly everything off until the second half of the year. That is, unless we do see these new Macs that are said to be coming sometime in May or June. Even though we already had the Apple event in March, we are apparently getting some more stuff in May, June timeframe around WWDC, and these new things will apparently all be Macs. We just don't know which ones yet. So the moral of the story for this segment is that there are more Macs coming. If you saw the Mac Studio and we're like, well, when the heck never, I had just slaughtered Betsy the cow, and she didn't pay for my Mac Studios. If you're that guy, trust me, there are more Macs coming, all right? We just have to be patient and we have to wait. And those Macs are the following: a new 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M2 chip, a new iMac with the M2 chip, a totally revamped and redesigned Mac Pro, and of course a new MacBook Air. So there's a lot coming. Just like we'll wait through that. We'll get there, because also in the fall, what Apple's also preparing to drop is of course the new set of flagship iPhones, the iPhone 14s, which have been on just such an emotional roller coaster lately. I mean, there have been some major developments recently, from the front of the Pros looking like this with no notch at all but a pill and dot cutout that I'm still not entirely used to. Rumors about only the Pro models getting a faster processor, with the standard 6.1 and 6.7 inch iPhone 14s keeping the processor from last generation. And most recently, well, we got these CAD files of the Pros that showed a design that wasn't as dramatic as we thought. But I was like, all right, that's fine. Like, this is just the Pro CADs. This is what the Pros are gonna look like. We actually, to this day, we didn't until now see what the regular 14s are gonna look like. So if you're not gonna spend $1,000 on your phone, here is the new iPhone 14. Hey, which one of you Nimrods put that slide up? That's the iPhone 13, dumb. What do you mean that's the iPhone 14? No, the iPhone 14 looks like this, because this is what I've been talking about on my show I update for months. You're telling me that they just flipped the script overnight? Yeah, so from a totally different website that has shared CADs before, we got their first images ever of the iPhone 14. And as you can see, it looked the same. Like, my impression was, okay, maybe after seeing the iPhone 14 Pro renders, that the overall redesign that looks kind of like the iPhone 4 wouldn't be as dramatic as we thought. But at the very least, while only the Pros were getting the processor and the notch changes, they would all at least look like the new design in a big way. But apparently that's not happening, or at least that's what these CAD show. And I want to be clear, this is not the final design, but it does scare me that as we get real cozy with the mass production timeline of when the design is normally finalized, I don't love seeing this design, because it's fine, right? The 13 is a fine design. It's cool. It looks like the iPhone 12, and that's like, listen, I'm a big stan of the iPhone 12 design. I was one of the biggest people most excited for the change. It's just that if you stack these two designs up side by side, not only does the nostalgia factor go up exponentially with the new iPhone 14 design, I think it looks better, and I think it's dope and would absolutely make the iPhone distinct from every other phone on the market. I mean, I would say the iPhone 13 is already pretty distinct, but there's something about this all glass, the 3 panels and the stainless steel band. Like, not only has Apple done it before and it was incredibly popular and it was the turning point for the iPhone, it also just looks so good, man. And I think it just finally hit me that this year Apple could adopt a different strategy, like a completely different layout for the iPhone 14 versus the 14 Pro, unlike we've seen for the 11 series or the 12s or even the 13s. Something very reminiscent of what Samsung has been doing. I mean, just look at their lineup. For example, they have the S22, which has an honestly decent design in my opinion, but then they have the S22 Ultra, which is like way more aggressive, sharper edges, even better camera, supports bonus features like a stylus. And I don't bring this up to say that Apple needs to do any of this or that they should copy this strategy, but if you look at what Samsung has done, they've made a very clear distinction between these phones. If you look at the iPhone 13s right now, I mean, yeah, there's different cameras on the back, but the front looks identical, and even the back is just a little bit different. The sides, everything else is pretty much the same. Jump now to these new images of the iPhone 14, which looks pretty much just like the iPhone 13, which is going to have the same front as the iPhone 13, which is going to have the same processor as the iPhone 13, which is going to have similar cameras to the iPhone 13, where the iPhone 14 Pro does look a lot different. I mean, the front is unlike anything we've ever seen on an iPhone. Even the back looks slightly different, and the sides might get this new iPhone 4 stainless steel band design. Of course, I want to hear your thoughts though. I love reading your comments about this stuff. Like, do you want the iPhone 13 design to change? Are you looking forward to a fresh design on the 14? The notch on the 14 Pro, is that something you're gonna buy? Do you care that the 13 is gonna have the older processor? I'd love if you got real philosophical on me down below in the comment section, because I love hearing what you have to say, and I hope you're doing well. I've been Sam, thanks so much. Catch you in the next one.